smoothly and everything. My name is Bertie Cunningham, and I work in the Wellness Center as the Associate Director of the Wellness Center, and then the Operations and Programming Director of the newly developed Center for College Sleep. And I'm going to talk to you today about developing your healthy student. Because we know from all of our information and over time that health, when it's absent, our students can't succeed academically, strength cannot fight, wealth becomes useless, and intelligence cannot be implied. So in the Wellness Center, it's myself, there's a grad student every year, a part-time office coordinator now, and then I report to Madonna McDermott, who's the Executive Director of Health and Wellness and Counseling. And then also within the Wellness Center, there's about anywhere between 8 to 12 student workers, usually some students that are going to be majoring in health and human performances or doing some academic internships. And then we have volunteers that usually you volunteer for like a year and then you can move into a student paid position. And so how we are structured is I look at the document Healthy People 2020. This is a document that's put out by the US government, Department of Health and Human Services, and it brings in experts on all the different health topics across the United States and sets goals for the United States on different health goals. So where we want to be by 2020 when it comes to heart disease or breast cancer or diabetes, obesity, all these different goals. And then our professional organization is called the American College Health Association. And they look at a healthy campus, or Healthy People 2020, and they adopt the things that are needed for college students. So we're not working on heart disease, for instance, but we keep in the different topics that are relevant to keeping our students healthy. We do 2 surveys on campus currently. We do the core survey, which we've done over a long period of time. I've been here, I think I'm going on 15 years. It's crazy. Going on 15 years, and we've been doing the core survey, and that survey looks at the use of drugs and alcohol by our students and a couple other health topics. But the other one that we really like to do is the American College Health Association has a survey, and that looks at the health behaviors of our students across the board. And so then I take that data, I look at it and how it compares to Healthy Campus 2020, what our campus is needing to work on, and I develop leading health indicators. These are our current ones. We have alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, mental health, and under that falls more of, for my area, more of stress or mental well-being. I'm trying to shift our culture on campus to about trying to not be so stressed out, but talking about stress in a more of a healthy mental well-being kind of area. More on that later. Sleep, and then physical health is the clinic. Overweight and obesity, we do a lot of stuff around physical activity and nutrition, so that falls under that area. Injury and violence, we do very little programming, but we do some around bike helmets, around seatbelts. None of our students are wearing seatbelts. It's kind of crazy to me. As well as some sexual violence stuff. We collaborate with other offices. And what I realized when I was looking at our data and everything is that if we work on alcohol, stress, and sleep, we can have the biggest impact on all these different areas for our students. And so what I do is I bring the data to the student workers in the Wellness Center, and I have learning objectives and stuff around that data, and then they develop the programs from scratch on how could we reach other students on these different health topics. So I think it's a really great job for students. They learn how to be creative. They know what's going to reach, how we can reach other students better than I can, and so we kind of work together and we bring up programs. So I'm going to talk about those 3 briefly. Alcohol and academics. We know that it definitely has an impact on campus. 24% of our students say they've missed a class because of their alcohol use. 18% have performed poorly on a test or an important project. 37% of our students have had memory loss, so now we know they're drinking at a really high level. They've experienced some form of public misconduct. That could be getting in an argument with public safety on campus or off campus, getting an injury or violence, and some kind of personal serious personal problems, 22%. So we know alcohol is, and driven a car, 14% have driven a car. It just blows my mind. And then you think about the people that aren't even wearing seatbelts in the car. It's, oh, okay, too much to take. Okay, so we also know it impacts our academics, and you can see that if you compare how much alcohol to grade point averages, you can see, and we all know this, but for students, sometimes it's easier to take in this information visually or in a different way without somebody telling them. They can process it on their own, so we put up information around campus like this. The more you drink, the lower your grade. We also know there's a good percentage of students who choose not to drink, who have never who have not even drank in their whole entire lifetime. There is that population as well. And so these are some of the different things that we do. We have an alcohol responsibility course, which is about a 4-hour online course. Every student that has a violation on campus, their first time violation, they take this course, and that's ran through the Wellness Center. And we have really good feedback on that they're gaining information from that course. We have this ECheck Up Go. It's developed from another university, and it's a quick intervention. We promote it in a bunch of different ways across campus. It's personalized feedback, so students enter how much they're drinking, how much they think students are drinking. Then they get questions like, oh, if you're drinking this much, do you know that's equivalent to eating this many cheeseburgers? So, or spending this much money on iTunes, or so it kind of helps them realize different areas of alcohol use. And we integrate our alcohol program through first-year orientation. Tobacco-free campus was a really huge one for us because we know there's a huge correlation between tobacco use and alcohol. So that really helped. Residence Life Programming, we partner with them, and we partner through different organizations across campus. And I think this is one of the reasons why I love working at St. Thomas is even though our office is charged with this area, it is by no means that we're the only office responsible on campus working towards reducing alcohol on campus. It's really a team effort across campus. So students came up with this idea. They wanted to create a campaign. It really stemmed from some students who saw other students, another student getting left behind that had too much to drink, and they were really concerned for that student. And so they came up with this. It's a Stopped at Buzz campaign. It's totally student driven. We wrote together, but mostly guided by them. We wrote, this is our mission statement. It's really the idea that if you're going to choose to drink alcohol on our campus, we want you to do it a safe and healthy way. Of course, we say it's not this magical land, like it's still illegal under 21. It's not like St. Thomas, it's illegal to drink here. And if you want to make that choice, we want you to do it in a safe and healthy way. So we have a whole bunch of different protective factors we teach them around drinking, and one of them is to 1 drink per hour is about a good standard of measure for what your body can metabolize and can keep you in a really safe area. So if you're telling them to drink 1 drink per hour, they need to know what is defined as 1 drink. Because sometimes they're mixing all different drinks and it's only 1 drink, but it has 4 shots in it, and that's actually not 1 drink. So we do some education around this, even to the point where we'll have students pour water into red Solo cups and ask them to pour a drink and see how close they can get it. So they start to get this recognition of what is a drink. We tell them, we promote rotating your drinks, so you're not just drinking 1 alcoholic drink after another. Make sure you can rotate drinks. It spreads out your drinks. It also keeps you hydrated and can help you stay buzzed. And then also, what are the things you could have done the next morning if you're hungover? So getting them thinking about the after effects as well. And then here's some information as a parent. Take what's useful only. Remind your student that he or she's part of a large, sensible majority that's making healthy choices on campus. And it's so true. And that's the hardest thing I think about alcohol is the students that are using alcohol in a non-sensible way are so visible. And those are the students that are easy to talk about, or those behaviors that you see of somebody who has used alcohol to excessive. But in reality, the majority of our students are really using alcohol in a safe and healthy way. Challenge them about their assumptions. Just before I came over here, I received like an email blast or whatever from a higher ed alcohol area, and it was talking about the research that's coming out on if parents are having the conversations with their students around drinking before they come to campus. The research is showing it's actually lowering students' expectations of themselves and the amount of traditional college drinking that they're doing once they get to campus. So you play a huge role in this, in having conversations about alcohol. Our protective factors, especially if you go out in a group, come home as a group, eat before you go out, so important. We've been going back and forth with this 21st birthday card where we offer a free smoothie to students turning 21 and stuff, and seeing if it's something that could work and helping students just get, eating a meal before you start drinking is a huge way to make sure you're in a safe and healthy range. So, all different things. So stress. Our students are stressed out, as you can imagine, and it really is true. If you think about it, they have so much going on in their life, and for a lot of them, this is their first introduction into being on their own, and they're managing so much stuff. 51% of our students report having more than the average or greater amount of stress, and we see that they're managing on their own their academics, sleep, socializing, making new friends, if they have a spiritual life, that component, if they're in athletics, if they're studying. A ton of our students volunteer, working out, eating healthy, all that takes time, and they're super stressed out. And here is what they are stressed out about. Academics totally makes sense, finances, sleep, this is this data kept coming back, and sleep was the third one for a while, and I was like, what's going on here? And so that's how we got really involved in doing some sleep stuff on campus, and you can also see a lot of the other ones are relationship-based. So stress in academics, 39% report that stress is affecting their academics, 30% report sleep, and 14% report depression. And I'm trying to get our campus, this is very new, and working into talking about stress as more of a mental well-being and having it kind of known that you do need some stress in your life. Like, stress can be positive. It's what makes us get up in the morning. It's probably what makes us get papers done on time. Like, there is a level of stress that is normal, and I just don't know where we're at with like identifying our normal amount of stress, or are we identifying that normal amount of stress as, whoa, I'm stressed out? And then how do you identify when you're just like stressed out but you have too much stress and you should actually go and seek help, or you have anxiety but you think it's stress? And so how can we figure that out on campus? And so one of the things we did was develop the project for mindfulness and contemplation. And it's working. It's only in its about third year. There's two faculty members on campus. One has just left the university, Dr. Bushlack, and then Dr. Bill Brendel. And the three of us got together and started the project for mindfulness and contemplation, and we have faculty on board on our advisory board now. And one of the main things we do is meditations in the Wellness Center, and we have podcasts of a few faculty members on campus doing different types of meditation, anywhere from a centering prayer to 5-minute body scan or a 5-minute like catch your breath, which I could do, 5-minute catch your breath, or a 45-minute body scan. And students are using these, and actually some of our professors on campus, a lot of them, are starting classes like this. Like, let's just start class by taking 5 minutes and taking our breath, slowing down our mind before we start class. And it's helped. And we did a research study about a year or two ago where we had students come in, and we partnered with psychology, and we took swabs of their saliva so we could measure cortisol, which is a stress hormone within the body. And so we did swabs, and then we had them meditate, and then we took their we did the swabbing. And we did it over a period of time, and every single student's stress level went down. Even those who had never meditated before were probably even nervous about meditating, but everybody's stress level went down. And so then I started talking with a faculty member on campus who has also since left the university, but she started talking with students around grief and loss. And it was really interesting to me, and I think it can really resonate with first-year students as well as graduating seniors, is that there's this sense of grief and loss when you come to campus, especially within those first 6 weeks. I think they probably talked about it before me. You might be leaving your family, you might be leaving your parents, your sibling. What if you're leaving your own bedroom and now you're sharing a room with somebody else? You're leaving the family pet. There is a sense of loss there, even though like this is an awesome new beginning and a beginning, there is definitely some loss and some grief there. And then we hear from other college students later on in their careers where students are like, everybody says this has to be the best years of my life. And I'm stressed, I'm poor, I don't have a lot of money. Like, how is this the best years of my life? And so there's like that kind of loss and that kind of grieving. So it's an interesting concept. And as a parent, I think sometimes I present with Madonna, and she's always great because she has a daughter in college, and her daughter, when she calls her, will tell her she's so stressed, and Madonna can remind her like, hey, you know how you used to go for a walk in the evenings? Maybe that's what you need to do. And I think as parents, you know your students so well that you perhaps know what helps them de-stress that they might not even be self-aware of. And so reminding them of those things. The importance of managing your time and creating a schedule, especially when they first get here. It is crazy. And if they can get into a schedule and maintain that, will guarantee them healthy sleep as well as lowered stress, if they can figure that out. And the key to that is getting up at the same time every day. Okay, sleep. So, did you know that you need sleep, and just like you need water, food, air, it's actually you need it, otherwise you will die. And not a lot of people know that, and so it is the basis of who we are. And we know college students are super stressed out and not getting enough sleep. So about 5-6 years ago, I had seen those slides around sleep being traumatic for our students. I couldn't quite figure it out, and then I met up with a professor on campus, Dr. Roxanne Pritchard, who's a neuroscience and works in the psychology department, and she had just finished this research study on campus where she surveyed all the students, and she thought they weren't sleeping enough because they were out partying and all what we would kind of assume or something. And what she found is that the students that are actually going to bed on time and stuff, but for a majority of them, what's happening is they can't fall asleep because they are stressed out. So just like I'm sure we've all had these nights, if not, you're lucky, where you like go to bed and you're like, oh, I have this due tomorrow. Why did I say this in that conversation? Or all those kind of things where you start rambling on. And that is really true for our students. There's so much things that they're losing sleep over, including parental supervision gone, delayed phase syndrome, that's how long it takes you to fall asleep, poor time management, academic pressure, the late night workouts, irregular schedules is a huge one. This is why if you can get your student to stay on the same schedule, it would be so beneficial for them, because maybe they have an 8 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, but then they don't have a class until 11 o'clock on Tuesday and Thursday, or 1 o'clock, and so why would they get up, right? So all that, and then the noisiness of the environment. Roommates, for some students, this is the first time they've ever shared a room. Or can you imagine, we hear this a ton from students, how many times does my roommate have to press the snooze button? Like, just wake up. Like, huge, huge, huge problem. Technology in the bedroom is huge. I'm convinced it's the worst thing you can possibly ask a college student is to turn off their phone before bed. I don't it is like impossible. And there's this whole new concept of FOMA. Have you heard of this? The fear of missing out. So, you know, what is going to happen if I turn off my phone? And we know that if you have your phone on and you're getting those text messages through the night, and some students actually text back and they're sleeping. It's kind of like drunk dialing is what's happening, but sleeping. It's like they regret it. It's like that adds more stress. But if you are texting or if you're getting those dings in the night, that's actually impacting your sleep. Even if you're not fully waking up, it's kind of it wakes you up enough. And the standard recommendation is 2 hours to put down your electronics before bed, which we wisely changed that to a half an hour for college students, and that still is like almost impossible to request. Caffeinated drinks, alcohol is playing a huge role in sleep. Studies have the students monitor their sleep throughout the semester, and they had these aha moments this past semester of, oh, if I'm working out, it affects my sleep like this much, but when I'm drinking, it's actually negatively affecting my sleep. And for them to be able to see that and how bad it's affecting their actual quality of sleep is making an impact. Medications, stress, and depression. So I thought you would love this slide, not so much students, but along the bottom here you have the students. So HS9 is 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, college freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. So you see the big shift from high school to college, that huge abruption in changing their sleep habits. They will never experience this again in their life, and the only other time they have ever experienced something as close to this is when you took away their their afternoon nap. Like that's the only comparison that's possible. Isn't that funny? So then what we can do is we have students also, we monitor or do research with them on all different areas, and one of the things we can do is have them wear a watch that measures their sleep over time. So what you have here is midnight is the 0, 0 along the bottom, and then Wednesday through Monday. So this isn't even a whole week. The black is when they're awake, and when they're falling asleep is the red. You can see there's random nap times, random awake times in there, and this student deaded themselves 8 hours of sleep, just in the amount from Wednesday to Monday. And so, you know, talking about that and this idea that, you know, you can't have all this crazy sleep during the week and then make up for it on the weekends. Like, that's not how sleep works. You can maybe make up 1 hour, but not overall. So having these conversations and putting out education around that. 93% of our students, this is pre our major interventions, by the way, 93% of students struggle with sleepiness during daytime activities. So this is like when they're building relationships, when they're in lab, when they're studying, when they're doing academics. 43% have difficulty with sleepiness. And the 12 past months of 29% felt it was traumatic and a difficult time. So we also have been looking at research on a national level. So like I mentioned, the American College Health Association survey, we got the data from the data set across all universities, and it was about a data set of about 81,000 students. And so this is a Z-score. So what that means is the 0.00 is average college student sleep. And those who are sleeping better than the average college student are getting better grades, are more likely to get A. So the further you get from the average, the less sleep that you get than the average college student, the worse your academic grades. It has a huge impact. And it actually, Roxanne has worked with, or Dr. Pritchard has worked with a professor also on campus, and found that it's actually more of an impact than alcohol or marijuana on academics. So some of the things we've done is we've written some grants and stuff. And the first thing we did was the sleep squad. We had these awesome hats, walked around campus, and went to different groups and worked with them on sleep. So we'd work with, and we still do this, we work with an athletic team about how sleep can impact athletic performance. We'll work with different clubs and different classrooms, and we started giving them the survey that we had developed, trying to figure out what was going on with students and how could we help them, what would be helpful to them. And what has happened since is we've turned this survey now, it's at a web developer currently, and it's becoming electronic, so we'll be able to have students take it electronically, and it takes about 10 to 15 minutes, and then they get feedback based on 9 different parameters of sleep, what they could do. So if they're showing the same characteristics as somebody with narcolepsy, which is going undiagnosed for a small percentage of our students, they will tell them to go to health service, or if it's time management or that one of the different 9 parameters, they'll know on campus what to do. And then we're going to actually be selling that or licensing it to other universities so that they can implement it on their campus as well. So that's one of the things that we are doing. And then the students came up with this idea in the Wellness Center. We do the sleep challenge every semester, and what the tagline they came up with, which I think is so awesome, is get more Z's to get more A's. It's kind of funny. And what it is a 20-day challenge. They come to the Wellness Center, they get the students talk to them about healthy sleep and how it's impacting their life and their academics, and they get different tools to use to track their sleep. We give them breakfast a few mornings to make sure they're getting up at the same time every day. If you tell your student one thing, it's get up at the same time every day. It is huge, huge, huge. And so we do things throughout 20 days with the idea being that then they're in this habit of a healthy sleep schedule, and it's actually working. Students have increased their amount of sleep by 20 minutes after 20 days. We've done follow-up surveys, and they're keeping their schedules going, and we've seen some great improvements. And it was all designed and marketed through the Wellness Center student workers. So as a parent, encourage your students to wake up at the same time. There's a nice video on here. This presentation goes onto a website, so you can link onto that in the future. And have your student assert for his or her right to an environment that's suitable for sleeping. And that might be hard. The RAs, I believe, do a really good job in helping our students navigate this conversation, but that can be really hard. Like someone you just met and you're sleeping in the same environment, trying to figure out, what does that look like? Like, do I need a sound machine? Do you want a fan on? Should we get, all those different conversations that can help your students have a good sleeping environment, and encourage them to get 8 hours of sleep. And then here's some just other programs and resources we do. The Wellness 5K, which you could all do, is going to be over Family Weekend this upcoming fall. We have about 300 to 500 people that come and do that. It's out on Summit Avenue, so you're welcome to do that. We do Brightside, which is helping get more fruits and vegetables in students' diets throughout the year. Stopped at Buzz. We have different physical activity campaigns. And then Health Services, which is located in the lower level of Brady. I like to say that it's a full-service clinic minus the x-ray machines, but they have everything they can do there. They have physicians, psychiatrists, dietitians, nurse practitioners. Students can make same-day appointments as well as schedule out. They can do well woman exams. If your students are traveling abroad, which often happens on campus, there's a huge percentage of students that do. They're a certified travel clinic, so they can do all immunizations for that. If your student has allergy shots, they can have their weekly allergy shots at Health Service. So they have a huge arrangement. It's a really, really good resource on campus. And I'd say it's also physicians and nurse practitioners and people in the clinic that are used to working with college students. So there's a different level of care I really think that you can get for a college student in the clinic. So remind them to get their flu shots. Super, super important on keeping our campus environment healthy. So travel clinic, like I mentioned. And then in closing, good health is critical to your students' success. establish that you're here to listen and have those conversations. Encourage the dialogue about goals and expectations, which I think is which I've also heard from parents is a nice way to do the alcohol and have those conversations regarding alcohol. So if you're expecting on yourself, or for yourself, that you want to get a 3.5 or a 4.0 major, how does that really line up if you're choosing to drink every Friday and Saturday and Thursday or whatever you're choosing to do? And how does that really work out for you? Or can you see where the discrepancy is there? Is one way to approach it. Initiate conversation, and there's so many great resources on campus, so taking advantage of those. And I'm going to turn it over to Brian, so he can get going on his. I have no idea. Perfect. Oh, and I am free for questions, or does anybody have any questions or anything, or?